wouldn't this just come down to like the numerology of it all, like somehow being programmed, like if we're really in a simulation and like it all being programming.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Orphic. My name is Alyssa. I'm an astrophysicist. I have my PhD, and I am interested in understanding how the universe works from a holistic, energetic perspective in terms of the consciousness and really, why everything is connected in the universe is what I want to know. And so that's what I bring to the equation here, along with some spiritual energy stuff.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Mikayla with Mariposa Moonchild on Instagram. I'm an empathic medium and intuitive energy healer, and I'm here to activate the inner wisdom within all of us to learn how to heal ourselves. And yeah, I'm a guide uh, for others along their healing journeys.
Yep. And so, yeah, just on this podcast, we're just unpacking our lives, unpacking our curiosities, essentially, and just going through, yeah, things like energy healing, the universe. I like to talk about astrophysics stuff, any new ideas that we have, kind of just bring it here and we talk it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we also like to start every episode by tuning in or grounding our energies in. So, let's have Mikayla lead that off.
Yeah. So I'm just going to light a little bit of Palo Santo. If you're able to, please close your eyes and put your feet flat on the floor, maybe even hand on your heart. And let's just take a second to tune in to our bodies and our breath. Wafting the Palo Santo to you through the screen or through the phone or whatever. All right, let's take a couple of deep cleansing breaths. So fill your lungs all the way to the top. Pause the top. Open your mouth and release. Letting go of anything negative, anything that might be holding you down. Another big breath in. Filling your lungs to the top. Pausing here. Opening your mouth and letting it go. Letting go of anything and everything that feels heavy, that's not serving you at this time, and releasing it with the breath. Let's do one more big breath in. Fill your lungs all the way up. Pause and let it out. Letting go of anything extra, anything excess that feels like it's not serving you at this time, and releasing it with the breath. And when you're ready, just come back to this moment.
I'm here. I'm back.
Perfect.
So, what's up?
I'm a little low energy today, pretty
Yeah.
tired. I slept in. I slept in quite a bit. I was having this just like crazy dream. I don't know if I've talked much about my dreams on the podcast before, but I have wild dreams where I feel like they're not regular dreams because I feel like I know the difference from when I was younger and sometimes when I have a regular dream. But a lot of times my dreams feel like I'm like actually living something out. Like it's not just like a memory
Yeah.
or a video playing in my mind. It's like, no, I'm like there and I'm like living it out and I'm having like active thoughts while I'm dreaming.
Yeah.
Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, very vivid. And I can't even really relate to this that much. Like, I've had some vivid dreams and everything, but you talk about your dreams with me a lot and how I think you have something like very deep going on there. And you've also said to me before how you feel like very disoriented waking up like a lot of the times, like, right? Like needing to come back into
Often.
this reality. And that's, yeah, something very specific. And I'm sure there's other people that can relate to it. Like, I don't think I can really relate to that much in terms of really feeling like something's, maybe sometimes, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and that is interesting too because like that is so much my reality that it feels weird that others' reality wouldn't be the same when it comes to the
yeah,
dreaming. I think I need to keep a dream journal or
yes.
like a record. Like
Hmm.
I've been told that a few times and I just like don't because I'm like I don't know, I think I have like resistance to like maybe how much time it would take,
Hmm.
although I think I could probably just write things down in like point form and it doesn't have to be like so much. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I remember like throughout the week, I remember most of my dreams. Like I can be like, okay, last night I dreamt about this, the day before I dreamt about this, the day before that I dreamt about this, the day. And like sometimes I'll wake up and be like, oh, I don't really remember, but like that is more
Hmm.
rare than me having like a very vivid dream and coming out feeling like very discombobulated, like as well as I can remember dreams from when I was like a child, like really
Really?
young, like 5 years old. Like right now, I can think of like three separate dreams from when I was like a really young child. So, like I remember them and they're like very vivid.
Or have you ever lucid dreamed? Like, been like, or intentionally or unintentionally?
Okay, well, so can you like kind of define that or like
Yeah, like, I'm trying to do it, and it's so frustrating to me because I feel like everyone's always like, "Oh, that's the first step to." I've heard people say, like, that's the first step to being able to have, like, really, like, intense astral experiences or astral travel is, like, lucid dreaming, and it feels so out of my control. I always get so frustrated. I'm like, "I try, like, how" I can try to okay, I think that it would be waking up in the dream and being I think, yeah, the definition of lucid dreaming, I would say, would be like waking up in the dream and knowing, like, oh, like having a conscious knowledge that you're dreaming, and then from there being able to like control your dream and manipulate your dream.
yeah, that happens to
Like
me
you've
pretty
you've
often, I
been like,
think.
I'm in a dream right now, so like, and then like gaining full consciousness in a dream. You've done that?
Yeah. Yeah, I've for sure done that. I mean, I also think like sometimes I'm like in between there in a way.
Yeah.
Like I'm not like necessarily fully knowing that I'm in a dream, but I do like have some type of understanding that I'm in like a different reality and that I can like make decisions and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Cause like I feel like a lot of my dreams, instead of it just being a video of like something happening, it is like me making decisions
Yeah.
and like actively doing things. And like that's why I find some of my dreams are so weird because like I'm doing things in the dream or having thoughts in my dream that seem very like in normal world reality. Like I don't know, for example, like the one that I had last night, it was like and it seems like it's like not that weird of a dream, but it's just how it feels. It's like that vividness and
Yeah.
then like yeah, that is also the problem is when I have these dreams, I wake up in the morning and I like actually don't know where I am. Like I need to like which is
Wow.
funny because like most days of the year I wake up in my bed in my house.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
and I have to like orientate myself to like where am I? Like am I in my childhood home right now? Am I in like Bryce's childhood home?
Whoa.
Like where am I? Like what time period am I in? Like how old am I? Like I actually like go through this when I'm like waking up and like trying to like figure it out.
Wow.
And then lately I've been doing this thing where I don't go on my phone in the morning. Like I leave my phone on airplane mode. And even with not reaching for my phone in the morning, I still will sometimes just lay in bed for like 20 minutes to half an hour, not even doing anything, just like actually trying to like come back to like whatever's like, I don't like just trying to orientate myself to like this current reality. So
Wow.
it is wild. And I always like, I call my power back and stuff, but I found I was doing that today and I just like, sometimes it's just like hard to shake. So
Yeah.
last night, I had a dream in my old childhood home and it just felt so real because the thing is my parents not last summer. but the summer before sold my childhood home. And I live 12 hours away from it now. So I never got to see it
Mm.
before like they moved out. Like it's just kind of this thing that
Oh,
like exists in my memory now, but I never got to like give it a walkthrough, say goodbye, like
so
I don't even
sad.
know when the last yeah, it is sad. I don't know when the last time was that I would have even seen it, and like now different people live there. So but last night I had a dream of like being there, but knowing that it was bought by somebody else and they owned it, but for some reason we were there. And I remember my head being like I like and that's the thing in these dreams, like I'm actively thinking, like I said to myself, like, oh wow, I'm really happy I'm here and I have the opportunity to see it because I never got to see my house before it was sold. So like I'm really happy I was here, and I was just like walking around my house, and it was very much my house. Like I was very much there. It was, I don't know, like, and like that doesn't sound that crazy, but it is
Mhm.
just like how vivid and the feeling of it like actually was. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty wild. That's
It,
very
it was wild.
symbolic.
And like, and I was with my family before that, and we were at, if there's anyone here that's from my hometown, with the annual Stampede, the rodeo. So we were like sitting there in the stands with my family. And I remember being like, and it's like we were almost like staying at our old house, even though other people like owned it. And I was like wearing a dress, and I was like, I want to go. Like, I remember in the dream, I was like really hot. Like the sun was really, really hot. And I was like, okay, I need to go get changed. I was like, and I turned, I'm like, can I take dad's vehicle? Cause like that's all I had. Cause I knew that I would have came from wherever, from here, probably flew and didn't have a vehicle. And I asked my parents, I'm like, can I take dad's vehicle like back to the house so I can get a change of clothes? And like, I just like don't feel like that kind of stuff is in a regular dream. Like that's a very real, like
Yeah.
tangible, like conversation. Like, okay, I need the keys. Like, can I like go?
Right.
And then actually, I don't actually remember the driving part, but then all of a sudden, like I was at the house and I was going through my suitcase looking for a change of clothes. I was actively looking. I was like, okay, I'm going to grab these cutoff shorts. Like it was like, it was a reality. It was like a dimension, like an actual reality that
Wow.
exists somewhere that I was in and living.
Yeah. No, that's like really real. And this one about your childhood home feels very symbolic. I mean, anytime you dream of something like that, that would always be very symbolic. But
Yeah, I think so. I should maybe look it up and see, but it was just, yeah, yeah, I don't know.
yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, there's
Contributing
something
to
else.
today's weird energy.
Yeah, today does feel weird. So I've, yeah, kind of been discombobulated since then. There is some dreams too that I have that it almost like runs my entire day. Like I have difficulty like shaking them in a way, like because I just like keep like thinking about them.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of what else with the dreams. But yeah, anyways, and so that's kind of how my morning started. Or like even just like for an example, like I've had a lot of dreams too where like I'm at a like part of the dream just to like show how real it is or how it's like you're actively making decisions at the time. Like I've even had dreams where I'm like up at a till paying for something, and like it's like because I feel like regular dreams you don't go through those motions of like driving to some, like you're just like randomly there, but you're not like actually like going from point A to point B, and like
Right.
that's actually continuously happening
Yeah, there's no
in the dream, and
continuity.
like you're yeah, and you're like choosing to make it happen. And like I've had dreams where it's like, oh, okay, I'm at the till and I have to pay for stuff, and I'm like, and it's like I'm actually like going through my purse, pulling out my wallet, grabbing my debit card, like paying for the thing at the restaurant, and then moving to the next thing. Like it's like it, like because you normal dreams, like you don't have those
Right.
like I don't know what it is, like those realistic
Yeah,
components
it's
of like,
usually
you know what
like
I mean?
things people just in dreams, like people just transform into other people, and it's like, and then it was my ex, and then it was a different person all of a sudden.
Yeah, or it's just like even if maybe for some reason if you are in a restaurant at a dream, like you don't ever have to pay for your food in your dream, but it's just it's like no, I'm like there like living it, so like I do have to do that at the end. Like I don't know, it's just it's
I had to
so
pay for my
interesting
dinner
to
last
explain,
night.
but maybe I should keep a dream journal. And
Yeah.
then I can talk about that more on the podcast too, because I've had readings before. Like I've had multiple people tell me over and over that I'm a dream weaver, and I still
Dreamweaver.
yeah, like
Meaning
I've had that term
meaning
said to me. lots of times, and I honestly still don't really know if I know what that means. So I think there probably is a lot for me to discover
I
there.
feel like something with like visiting alternate timelines, like
And like
weaving
astral
in,
travel, like
yeah,
people,
travel.
yeah, people will tap into my energy right away and they're like, oh, wow, shit. Like you go places, like you've been around, like they're like, you are everywhere in your dreams. You are all over the place. And I'm just like, yeah, I know. I feel it. How do you stop it? I need to sleep.
Yeah. Well, you can ask, you know, you can ask to have to not remember it. You can ask to not remember your dreams for that night or something, and just
I try to.
yeah, work with intention setting, I guess would be the only way
Yeah, I
to
try to.
monitor it.
It doesn't work much, but I think that's because there's probably a piece of me that is trying to get me to pay attention to this. Like
Yeah.
there's a reason for it,
Yeah.
right? It's not just random stuff that's happening. So, yeah.
Right. I believe that if you remember any part of your dream, like that's never an accident. Like you only remember parts of your dreams that you're supposed to remember for some reason because we dream so much. So it's like obviously I feel like
Yeah,
I'm
or
I'm
even I was thinking okay, like I had this one dream too about this girl that I don't know really well. She's Bryce's sister's friend, and I randomly had a dream that Bryce and I were like watching her little girl. She's a little girl. For some reason in the dream, we're like babysitting her because something to do with like her being pregnant or she needs someone to babysit, but because she was pregnant. And I like randomly just reached out to her and was like, like I had this dream about you guys last night. So random. And she's like, oh, haha. And then a couple of months down the road, she announces she's pregnant,
Mhm.
and she messaged me back and was like, you were right. Like, I couldn't tell you at the time, but like, you completely nailed it. And I wasn't even reaching out to be like, to like question her and be like, oh, are you pregnant?
Yeah. That's a pretty
I
random
like,
person to make such a star appearance in your dream.
yeah. And so I was just like, whoa, that's crazy. And like, there was, I know of somebody else who had like a pretty traumatic birth, like recently, I'm pretty sure. And even though I didn't talk to them personally, I heard it through someone else. The same night, I had a dream about actually having a baby that was a traumatic birth and a baby that was put on like a ventilator and life support. And it was the same night I came to find out. So like, it's like stuff like that. That's just like, whoa.
You're a dream weaver, girl.
Yeah, and I guess with that, I should say a couple nights ago, we were talking about this before the podcast, but I'll mention it now. I had this dream where I was like looking out the window and I seen this huge sun. It was humongous. It was like probably 8 or 10 times the size of our sun. It didn't seem as bright, but it was like glaring, like this big circle that I thought when I was looking out the window, and I had this thought too. I was like, okay, that like, why is the sun so big? Like, what is happening? And it had this big rainbow aura just like radiating like all the way around it. And so, like, very inquisitory, I'm like looking out the window trying to like figure out what's going on. And then I see the moon higher up and I'm like, okay, that's the moon. And I'm kind of orienting myself. And then I seen kind of up high and to the left, I seen the actual sun because it was like regular size and like brightness. And I was like, oh, that's the sun. So whatever this was, I wasn't
Yeah,
sure.
it's wild.
And then in this dream, so then after kind of like looking at it and figuring out what's going on, all of a sudden this big like whoosh of energy came, or it was like, boom, and like everything in the house started like shaking and the windows were like breaking. And it was very much like when you watch like something like, I don't know, nuclear,
Yeah.
like I don't know.
Right.
Yeah,
Like a
like when that
nuclear.
bomb was like dropped in like
Mhm.
Japan, and when you ever see documentaries or videos about it, like the way they show like how everything is just kind of like that, just like that big whoosh of energy and things are broken and shaking, and like that's what it like felt like on a level. and everything was shaking and things were falling over and breaking and the windows were breaking and you could just feel the like the energy like pushing you
Yeah.
back.
So
And
intense.
I remember in the dream being like, holy fuck, and like being like, okay, brace for impact. And I do believe that I was with Bryce or even my family. And like, I remember like laying down on the floor and like telling everyone, like, cover your head. So we like laid down on the floor and covered our head. And I had this active thought in the dream. I'm like, oh shit, like this is the solar flash. Like I actively had that thought in my dream that what was happening right now was the solar flash, a solar flash. And then I just remember being like, well, like, I guess like we'll see if I live through this. I don't know. And that's where my dream ended. And that was like just like a couple nights ago. And see, I clearly remember that. Like, what's it like for you people that just like wake up and you don't know your dreams? Because I talked to Bryce. I'm like, okay, I dreamt about this and this and this last night. What'd you dream about? He's like, I don't know. And I'm like, he also sleeps so easily. It's so annoying.
I hate when people can sleep easily.
Yeah, it's so dumb. Like he'll just like lay down and like go to sleep in like
What?
such an annoying way where I'm like, okay, like I'm talking to you. Like,
Wow.
anyways. So yeah, some intense dreams
Intense
in the
dreams.
astral lately.
That solar flash one is crazy. And I don't know, there's a lot to talk about this increased solar activity. We talked about, just to put a reference here, I talked about in the seventh and eighth episodes, more so episode number 8, talked about the increased solar activity, and there's a lot of stuff going on that is causing these. It's I wanted to say causing, but then the word came to my mind, assisting. It's actually more so that the celestial bodies are assisting with what's going on with the Earth's consciousness evolution, because it is, this evolution that we're in is happening at a larger scale. It's not just like little individual humans that don't mean anything on a planet that are all starting to coincidentally care about their souls more. It's what's happening is a much grander, what's the word, a much grander fix
Evolution.
yeah, like fixation of events, like alignment of events in the universe that is happening to bring us to
Yeah.
where we are right now. So
Much,
that's
much
why
grander, like incident of
orchestration, I want to
events.
say
Orchestration. That's a good word.
orchestration, I think was the word I was looking for. And
Yeah, that's a good word.
the stuff with the sun has a lot to do with it, which is just in itself is kind of wild if you don't know about how much of a connection there is between like the light from the sun and the photons, and how much it activates us, or how like I what I always come back to on this topic is just that the sun is our source of life. Like the sun is the reason that we have life on this planet. And so I just think there's some intrinsic innate connection in there already. But yeah, I don't know. For some reason, just this, I guess this, obviously, this talk with the solar flash just really got me fixated on this whole thing about how this is it's a collaboration. This what's happening on the planet is not just Earth. Like the sun is collaborating with us, and the rest of the galaxy and the universe is collaborating with us to yeah, to help what is happening like persist and continue. And that is what, if there is this increased solar activity, it's all it's there's a lot with the incoming light activating activating our DNA and activating our cells and moving through us, and it's just this constant exchange of energy and light packets and stuff. And I think that a lot of the incoming light and anything that this solar flash, a possible timeline of a solar flash, which would just basically be some much more intense burst of solar energy that really kind of comes to the planet at one time. And what the effects of that would be in one sense that it would affect it would just turn on a lot more turn on it would like I see it turning on things on in our body in the sense that it like makes our particles in our body like vibrate faster and higher to just bring us into a less dense version of our physical existence because we are like in a 3D body, but I think there's a range of densities that we can exist in, and I think we're moving into something that's just a little bit less dense and we're vibrating higher.
Oh, my ears started ringing. Like my one ear actually was blocked and now it's like ringing
Oh
like
wow.
really loud.
We're tapping
Well,
into something.
I was just thinking, I'm like, should we unpack more of this here? Because I have thoughts about it. However, I don't necessarily know how they're going to be received. Like the solar flash, like there's just so much to it. Do you have more to say on like the densities? Because yeah, you're totally right. Like like that is what is happening, right? And we've talked about this in the ascension episodes. Like Earth is ascending. That's when we talk about new Earth. That's where we're going this jump from 3D to 5D. It's a different frequency, it's a different density. Our bodies are being prepared to live in this density, to hold this density. And it's a lighter density, right? Like that's
Hmm.
yeah, exactly. Because and then that's how it go. It's a progression upwards in evolution of the soul and then also existing in the different densities of the body. And it's also so interesting just the different frequencies and attunements and experiences that come along with
Level.
with each with
Like
each density. Because I'm
yeah.
thinking right now, like, as much as you sometimes it's easy to shit on being a human, like with how much suffering and pain we have on the planet and stuff like that, we also have this like unreal capability to feel and experience all of these emotions. And yes, we can feel pain physically, but we can also feel pleasure. Like we
Hmm.
can also taste food. There's so many things that even in lighter
Yeah.
bodies or lighter light bodies that don't even exist. So it's really really interesting. And then yeah, as the densities as you go up, because when you think of the different densities and the light bodies and beings, like for example, an angel is in like the 12th density, which I think is like way up there. As
Hmm.
far as that's as far up, that's as far as I think this universe knows right now,
Hmm.
I would say.
Yeah.
Not that I don't
12th or
think so.
13th.
Yeah. Not that I don't think there's more universes and like there's things that exist outside of that, but like to our awareness right
Hmm.
now. And so angels, we know angels, like their light bodies, like they can travel across the universe through time and space. Like they're very much light bodies. We've heard the myths about the angels that have shown up. Like they're a very light and angelic body. However, um they don't experience what it feels like to eat ice cream or a cheeseburger or to have sex, but like they
Hmm.
also don't experience what it feels like to be stabbed or to be starving or
Hmm.
so it's
Yeah, I
just
feel like the lower densities, when it's yeah, when there's more range, like what I'm feeling or getting is it's that it's we have yeah, we have a greater range packed into this smaller volume that's more dense. But yeah, there's a lot of like different emotions and sensations and things that we can feel. And I feel like I try to lean into that aspect of the human experience when I can, in terms of like the food. And I've really like transmuted a lot of things with I don't know, you hear people all around like, oh, if things we had this whole episode, the whole quantum healing episode, we talked a lot about like food and body image issues and things like that. And just in terms of experiences, like I have reframed like a lot of anything that's like super delicious. I'm just like, wow, how amazing is it that I get to like experience this flavor and this taste? And I try to live from that perspective. I mean, I've balanced everything. But yeah, we have this range of experiences, and there's a way to reframe the personal human experience in that way, if you
Well, I
can.
mean, and that's it too, because it's like as much as you want to live in the spiritual realm and the significance of that, we are human having a human experience, and that is part of our medicine being in where we're at right now. Like we can't live like an angel or whatever, because like we are in human carbon made bodies at this point, and we need physical food, and we need human connection, like physical touch and human connection. Like those things are actually ingrained in our DNA for survival. But yeah, it is all just
Mhm.
it's a very interesting point.
Like, so too, what's coming up for me now is like how this kind of relates to like our strategic placement around the earth and our interaction with the earth. And there's so much that like the earth people say like the earth can transmute energies for you. It's like a lot of times you can give your energies into Mother Gaia, and she will kind of transmute these things for you. But I feel like there's a lot to do with all of this in terms of the humans that are on the planet, and like the collective consciousness, and how we are a collective hive mind from one perspective. And I saw this really beautiful Instagram post this week that I think I sent it to you, and it was like about how like, why am I crying so much? And it's like, you are crying for the people that can't. And it's like when we feel something, when something moves through us, we're doing that as a service to the earth. We're transmuting, or we're passing that emotion through our energy body and like down into the earth, and we're healing some aspect of it. But I just really like that video and that perspective of like, sometimes like if you're feeling things, or you're able to feel a lot of things, like you're doing that for the people that also can't. And I think that's a cool perspective too.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, whew, yeah, there's a lot to unpack about the human experience right now, because we're moving into a new human experience, into a higher frequency human experience, one more led with love.
Hmm.
Um, where was I going with that? What did you say right before?
The transmuting energies, or
Oh yeah. And just the way right now, the way Earth is set up or has been set up, there's a lot of like numbness on the planet. Like there's
mm,
a lot of conditioning and programming around numbness, not to feel the emotions. So it makes sense for those of us that are in a state when are open to receiving, and
mhm,
as we're empathic, which most of us that are doing this work are light workers called to this, interested in any of this, we are empathic. It makes sense that naturally we're doing some of that releasing for the ones that aren't feeling, for the ones that are numb.
mhm. Yep. And I think it's all related, because it's all related to the ascension of the planet, and this whole like constant um communication that's going on between the sun and the earth and us. And it's just um There's okay, well, this kind of perfectly segues us into the starseed stuff, because the reason that we're on the planet with this higher frequency, or trying to usher in these higher frequencies, is to literally transfer those high frequencies into the planet. What like when we are here, people that are on this path, or seeking change, or seeking some kind of some kind of shift into some higher vibration that feels more aligned, that feels freer, that feels more rooted in unconditional love than what currently exists. It's like it's not just an individual equation. It's not just for your own life. We are seeding these higher frequencies to then, because we're on Earth, because we're physically standing on this planet, and we all have an electromagnetic field that's all interacting with each other and with the Earth. We are here as these seeds of the light, these seeds of higher frequencies, because pure simply by us being on different locations around the grid, and different locations around the earth, we are physically seeding in a higher frequency to the earth. And that's what this solar activity is assisting. It's like the earth has to get to some next level higher frequency. The solar activity is assisting, and as the light comes in, we as physical vessels, with higher frequencies, are physically assisting the earth to reach a higher vibration.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely what's happening. Yeah, with the ascension and with starseed specifically. There's a few more things on the solar flash.
Mhm.
I just wanted to unpack or even
Yeah.
ask you about and kind of just bounce back and forth. Have you tapped into the solar flash much?
So the extent that I haven't in terms of like the human earth timelines. I have thought about it in terms of like the galactic meanings. Classic me.
Mm,
In terms of like trying to understand like the astrophysics of what would be causing that, because I think, because I think there's something, because for the solar flash to happen in general, like there's a reason that would be happening now, and that didn't happen 100 years ago. So,
mhm,
and the reason that anything would on, obviously if everything is connected, there would have to be a reason that anything on earth has anything to do with the sun. And so I think that it might have to do with our with this ascension cycle of the planet causing the solar system to move into some region or to have some influence. I think there's something happening astrophysically that's putting a lot of pressure on the sun, or that's sending a signal to the sun that it's like time to assist earth with this extra activity that's kind of causing it to have a heightened activity right now. And so that's the sense that I've tapped into it, in the sense that there's some kind of communication system going on between like the earth consciousness and the sun consciousness and the galactic consciousness.
for sure. From a human perspective, do you think the solar flash is something that we can live through?
Yes. I think well I
Because
think
I'm
that
not
if
sure, to be honest.
I think that if it happened in this current timeline, if it happened anytime soon, I think yes, because I think we're on a timeline to anchor in new life and like higher vibrational life onto this planet. So I think that if it was in a timeline soon, I think the purpose would be for assistance of shifting us into a higher vibration.
Well, I think that
Um
regardless.
yeah.
Um,
Right, you're saying it's more like the possibility of talked about this a little bit on the Ascension episode.
yeah, it's just I'm just yeah, it's I haven't really tapped into this directly, so I've made a note to maybe do that myself. But it's just different thoughts on it because it is something that is kind of complex and none of us really know. I see a timeline, and this is kind of what I think you were speaking to, where the solar flash comes, um, and it knocks out our electricity. It knocks out our Wi Fi, obviously, because that's part of it. And we are forced to go into a very off grid type of situation.
But only for like a few days, right? Or like a week or something. What are you talking about?
No, no, no,
Like
no.
that
Really?
sort of.
No. I thought this was like this is the catalyst to sending us back into community living, because when this happens, and this is part of assisting the ascension too, we have no choice. We have no
Mm.
choice but to branch off into smaller communities and grow our own food and do all of that without.
Right. I think, oh yeah, okay. So I guess I'm more so referring to like the prophecies that I've heard and just other like have I don't think that that is necessary. I don't think that that's necessarily the future timeline of New Earth. Is I think there's a community aspect to it, but I think that karmically, because I think that there is actually going to be a lot more technology involved. This is also like kind of with Jenny's membership at Starseed Academy, like we did this astral journey to New Earth, and I actually wasn't able to be there, but I heard her talk about some things on like how she sees it being like a lot more technological than we would expect. And so just going, so that's like one thing, but just
Okay.
going off of my own, so one quick thing, like
Yep.
yeah, I was just going to say karmically it almost makes sense. I could karmically, I'm feeling like there's this stuff karma to complete from the downfall of Atlantis and Lemuria,
Oh, that's
and
interesting.
there's this karma from like Atlantis. Was what happened was technology was introduced and the humans couldn't handle it and the technology led to their demise. And I feel like there's some sort of karmic lesson here to allow the neutrality, to like allow to learn that technology and anything, just like how money is neutral, it's just an energy to
Yep.
amplify. I feel like there is something there, and I actually hadn't really thought about that karmically with the Atlantis of it all until right now.
Yeah, I
But I
like that.
could
That's very
see,
interesting.
yeah, I could see there being like, okay, now we bring in this new technology and also this technology from higher dimensions and from other starseed alien species, and we integrated it. I feel like that's part of, yeah, integrating it into this, what I think 5D is still kind of pretty dense compared to
Mm.
the higher dimensions, integrating it properly into this reality and having mastered the neutrality of it and using it to our benefit.
I completely agree with that. What I was thinking is, because like you said, the energy is neutral, but it can also be kind of swayed either way, depend like right, like for example, like money, yes, inherently is a neutral vibration. However, is there people out there that have a ton of money that maybe aren't using it for the best intentions, if that's power or whatever, like using that tool that way? Is that happening with technology right now too? I think so. Like there's some scare, like
Mhm.
honestly, the AI shit that's coming up, it, to be honest, is scaring the fuck out of me. Like I've seen photographers post photos that are created by AI, and I'm like, this is honestly kind of scary, because these photos are so realistic.
Mhm.
Like how, what could stop, like how can you even tell what's a real photo and what's not
Mhm.
anymore? Like I think of having things like photos as far as like even in like legal cases, like, oh, this is where I was at this time. Anyways, that's a whole other tangent.
I feel like
um
it's like this whole I feel like it's gonna be a discernment thing. Like, I don't know. I'm feeling like it's just gonna be like, yeah, I totally agree. Obviously, it can go both
yeah.
directions and it can be used for evil, but yeah, continue.
um So what I was saying is, when the solar flash comes, what I had kind of felt into as it would be this initial knock us off grid. And I do see for an extended period of time. I don't know if that's month to years is kind of what I was feeling into. However, I do New Earth is like I don't see it like I see that initial time frame, that forcing us to go back into community, back into growing our own food, back into that. However, yes, the new earth will have more technology. And from that back to community, like it's almost like that initial activation or spark to like come back and live in this way. From that, an activation, because and like obviously if the solar flash happens, there is going to be activations that are happening on the earth, if that's more love frequency or whatever it is. And from that space, the new technology is born. Because when I think of New Earth, like there
Mm.
for sure is this like very high vibrational technology, but also with that, think free energy. Because if I feel like the solar flash could knock off the systems of the way we use our Wi-Fi, the way we use electricity, the way we're fueling it with coal and burning trees, and now we'd be moving from a love frequency with the technology, and integrating things like real free energy across the world.
I definitely can see that in terms of like that does make sense because if we were going to reach a vibration where if we're going to welcome in all this new technology at some point in the near future in the next like 10 to 20 years or something, then we have to be at a place that we can handle. We have to be able to handle the responsibility of that technology, and usually the way that those things kind of come about is you have to wipe it down to 0 point and build up from there to be able to reach a yeah, to be able to like reapproach it from an authentic a new authentic state. So like I can definitely see that in terms of yeah, something happening to put us in that position to be able to actually come together. And I do see like even if it weren't to last for longer than like a few days, I do think like at the minimum, I do think that the purpose of the solar flash is almost similarly to how the pandemic got everyone on the same page
Like a
instantly.
reset.
It would be some sort of wake up call reset. It
Wait,
would be a
you
reset.
think the pandemic got everyone on the same page?
It got everyone to the same focus. It got everyone
Right.
on the world looking at the exact same thing. And I think that it would be different,
Um,
similar but different.
y-
Um,
yeah. Yeah, because those are just thinking very different sources.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but
But
I
even
see your
then,
point.
yeah, I think it would have some purpose of like a reset
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah, for
of
sure.
a
Absolutely a
perspective
reset.
shift, a
And
perspective shift into gratitude, into higher consciousness.
well, and I think that's even where it would like force you, it would be similar to the pandemic. Like you were saying, it would give you this chance to go like inward. Like now we're cut off from
Mhm.
Wi-Fi and
Right,
electricity. And it's not
exactly.
like we wouldn't be able to probably make ways to use electricity or things again. But I feel like there would be this real big like reset, and going back to like very basics of like I think part of it would be getting in tune with nature again, like getting those basics again, and then from this new frequency we would birth the new technology that is meant for new earth, because like 1,000%, like we're not moving backwards in time where we're going to be using horses all the time and things are like we're going to be more into suffering. Like no, there is going to
Mhm.
be technology, and I see it as free energy. Like we're not going to be paying bills anymore. Like say goodbye to paying for our like fucking electricity bills. Like it's going to be this free energy thing of technology that we can't even imagine that is going to be in place to make our lives easier. Like I see even like I do see people spreading across the planet more, but I still do see towns or cities like I don't know, like I almost see like these what do you call it? Like I want to say cascade, but that's not the right word. Like the terraces of like plants or
Mhm.
like yeah, just like the terraces, or like like in Italy when it's like it's like a level and then another level, like how they level the hills like that for like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for
Like
agriculture. So I see like that with like irrigation, water systems in between. And I see like these like cities that just are like full of these thriving plants that just like look really like beautiful and they're sustainable. Like I feel like, and that's going to be part of the coming back to the connection of the earth and building that
mhm.
relationship, because I feel like
Agree.
from there, the technology that we're going to birth and the way that we're going to live is going to be from a sustainable place, weaving with Mother Gaia instead of taking
Mm.
from Mother Gaia.
So the other thing too is that like with this natural shift in consciousness comes in this stronger I am presence. This natural it is going to naturally bring with it this different appreciation for the earth and different appreciation for life, because with that heightened state of consciousness you begin to understand that the earth has a soul. You begin to understand life all around you differently, and you begin to understand that you are those things. Like I keep being brought back to like the I am I am frequency, the I am understanding. So it's embodying I am presence and treating the things around you with the respect that they deserve as a natural byproduct of you now knowing. And it's so different actually than just being like, we just had Earth Day, than just being like, yes, we love Earth and let's save the planet. It's like very different than that. It's like a true understanding that like you are everything. And I think that is part of what is going to shift this way of life.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be moving from this place of like true like interconnectedness, true like oneness. It's I mean, it's going to be a shift in consciousness. And it's going to be, and like
Mhm.
that's part of the assistance that you were talking about of the solar flash, is it's going to be a radical shift in consciousness. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of things to unpack there, because like I don't know if everyone will necessarily survive like the solar flash, and I don't know how that's going to be received. I'm just putting that out there. I don't know when this is going to happen, and I also don't think, if you're listening to this, I don't think you need to worry. Like, it's not something to scare people or to have you worry, because I feel like this, if this is in your reality, you're headed in a certain direction and you do not have to worry. This is not like an exclusive club. Like,
Yeah,
I don't,
for
like, I've heard
sure.
people talk about it like that, and I don't like
Mhm.
that either. And I'm also just
Oh yeah.
unpacking this as kind of thoughts come up, because the end, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm just like speculating and
And I
unpacking
mean,
this with you.
you're coming at this also from a different place because you just had a dream about it and you just moved through these feelings that you felt, and you're unpacking like, oh, I felt these things, and everything that we feel in dreams is very important. And so you're like going through like, oh, I had this thought, like, am I going to survive this? And that's like a real thought that you had, and you're trying to like figure out like, how is that going to play in to if this really happens.
Yeah, and I mean, along with that, I'm not afraid to talk about death, because for me, you're just moving. Your energy is just moving. You're just going to a different place, and there's something about my soul that has a real like understanding and knowing of that concept. Like, I'm even meant to be here to like assist souls to the other side, and to be able to come back and forth from side to side to kind of like assist souls with that transition. So
Mhm.
it's tough, because like as I speak about it, I'm also just like, I don't want to like scare people or say things, because I
Mhm.
am just like speculating. And I think maybe sometimes I have a, not a lightness, but like maybe to some other people this would sound like it'd be a lot more serious. And I'm like, do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yes,
Um,
definitely. And I would say like I have a quite normal perspective on death in terms of like, I'm not as like okay with it. But I mean, but you have a different, you are more you walk the line, and that's what you're meant to do. And so, I understand that death is just energy transfer and everything, but I still have a very human view on it and everything
well,
too. So,
and parts of me do too, because I do have that
yeah,
humanness in me.
obviously.
But yeah,
Yeah, obviously. You're not just like a little orb floating around like, I don't care if I'm alive or dead. Like, you're a human, but I would say I have like more of a human view on it at this stage. But yeah, I mean, I obviously know what you're saying. Like,
yeah.
yeah, but you're saying it for a reason.
And I think with that, there's also the element of remembering our souls chose this. So some souls that might be their exit point. Like,
Mhm.
right? Because they're not going to that new place right now for whatever reason. And I think there's a
Mhm.
lot to unpack there with that too, that I don't necessarily want to get into all today. But another thought I also had is that I have had for a while, for various reasons, is what this is a lot to unpack here. So if you're listening, thank you for being here. But what if no humans survive the solar flash? And that doesn't mean that there's not a new Earth and we're not going to a new Earth. But what if all the current humans in our current body, like, what if this solar flash is assisting Mother Gaia to get to that new frequency, and the next humans that are to come will be on different bodies on New Earth, and they will not survive this current flash in our current human bodies. That is also a thought that I've had.
Hmm. And yeah, that makes sense. And I think what I've heard some, a lot of what I've heard about all of this is like combination of what resonates, and also just, I've been in a position of gathering information a lot in the last few years. So, and this is a huge topic that a lot of people have talked about. I've heard tons of
Yeah,
things.
same.
And in terms of, but so what I was going to say though, in terms of what I've heard in terms of why like Earth is so special, or why what's this experiment that's going on at Earth right now, is part of it is the mission is to it would be one of the first times that we would a planet would undergo an ascension with people on it.
Oh,
So, yeah, so I think usually when a planet I've also heard, by the way, that what's happening is that there's a Earth is changing souls, that there's a walk-in that's happening right
yeah, you've heard
now.
that from EA, right?
Yeah, Elizabeth April channeled that once in a Galactic Federation meeting, and I was like, I'm gonna have to sit on that.
Yeah,
That
I've
it's a
thought
that
about
it's a
that one
switch,
before.
that it's a change in souls that's happening right now, and that's possible. I think that also happens in humans, and I think that because planets and stars have really really long lifetimes in terms of like billions of years, thousands, billions of years, that souls switch over.
Um,
But
y-
so I think that ascensions happen in other planets, but usually it is in between civilizations, in between lifespans of beings that are on the planet. And yes, I heard that this is like an experiment to see like how can we ascend a planet? Can we ascend a planet with people on it?
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I resonate with the new walk-in of the soul. I don't know. I just
Mhm.
haven't figured that one out, because there's pieces of
Yeah,
it
I
I'm
don't
just like,
know.
I'm not sure. However, like I also do think of like, have you like you've seen the illustration of how we actually split, like 5D Earth,
Yeah,
3D Earth. I
yeah,
mean, like, what's there to say also about that reality? Like, what does that also mean, that there's actually like two different
right. The
realities with two
split.
different Earths, right? So I've thought about the soul with that too. I'm like, is this new soul coming in for the new Earth, or is that a new soul coming in to take over the 3D Earth that continues? Like, I don't know.
I mean, and yeah, that is interesting in terms of that whole like split thing. But in terms of galactic wise, zooming out to the
Yep.
bigger physical picture, I if it is true that souls kind of switch out, they're inhabiting celestial bodies, like that if there's not just one soul that stays with the sun its entire 10-20 billion year life, I wouldn't be surprised if those changes are meant like easily happen in these cycles, with these cycles, right? Because there is some grander cycle, like 26,000 year cycle that's happening either with the precession of the earth or moving through some band of a photon belt, some high energy. So like in that case, I wouldn't, I could see there maybe being a switch in souls like happening in this time. It doesn't
It's
seem super
possible.
random.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I really
But yeah,
like, I don't
I don't know
know.
about that either. Like, I would have to, I'll
And
see.
yeah, I also think like, yeah, there's a lot to unpack, because also like, what density was Atlantis living in?
I think there's good question.
Right?
3D,
Because I
5D?
always think like
Probably
now we're
maybe
moving.
5D.
Pardon?
Maybe 5D. Maybe 5D.
Yeah. So that's so interesting too.
But it
I
fell.
think individually we should maybe tap into some of this stuff, because
Yeah.
Atlantis is very interesting. I know for myself, I've lived lifetimes in Atlantis, Lemuria, like really far back on Earth. So I'm tapping into that to get more information. Would make sense, which is why this is like coming through right now. But even that, so we think of the technology, and you think of the like kind of utopian times that they said that they lived in. And I'm like, would that be congruent? Would that be possible with a 3D? But then there was the fall of Atlantis, where the power went the other way, And then there was the fall. So then was that like moving back into 3D, or have we always been in 3D and now the planet's moving up? Like these are all questions. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know either. I think I do feel like though there's something I feel like the earth is built into some container of sorts that are maybe it's either in the coding of our simulation or our matrix, or I do feel like it is like a 3D to 5D kind of range. I think there's a reason that there aren't 12, I mean, well, there are angels around, but I think there's a reason that it's incarnated and inhabited by three-dimensional beings
Yep.
like us.
Yep.
I think so I do think that there's kind of like a built-in, yeah, there's a limitation within the range of dimensions of life that we can host on this planet specifically.
Oh, sorry. I'm getting a download.
Yeah, say.
So what's coming through is
Mhm.
when Earth was first made. This is a lot. When Earth was first made, it was like it's very experimental, like same with what the beans are on there. Oh my God, this is
Mhm.
so interesting. Okay. And so
Ooh.
in the beginning of Earth, the beings, we had access to all dimensions. You got to choose. You had access to all of the different dimensions. And this is why the 12 strand DNA exists inside of us and we're learning to activate it. But then through
Oh.
like,
Oh, right.
yes, yes. So then
I remember that.
what happened with the human race, and there's a lot here, like I don't think I'm going to be able to go through all of this and unpack this all right now, but we had different beings, different species that came to the earth to enslave the humans, as well as different events like the fall of Atlantis. I think
Mhm.
power being used in the wrong way, and these things like turned us into like a lower density, as well as something within the DNA of us began to go dormant all the way down to like the lowest point, or like
Yeah.
3D. And so now there's this remembrance and activation to reactivate these strands to move up there. But the beginning point,
Mhm.
you could, as I believe as a human or whatever being you were that came to Earth, because there's other beings that were on Earth too, you could activate, or you could weave and move through the different dimensions. And so now we've come out of a lot of shit as humans and a lot of shit on the earth, and we're moving back into this place of our remembrance, of remembering how to do that and actually taking our power back and not being manipulated by these greater m- malevolent powers.
Mhm. Yeah, that definitely resonates. I think there's something there's something to like the earth being an experiment, and there's definitely something with this extreme, like this access to all the good and all the bad, and that maybe is like tangential and not to the whole thing with the DNA. And I think there's a lot within our DNA, within this numbers, like the 12 strands, like all these numbers and 12 and 13, and they're so significant,
Mm-hmm.
and it's baked into our design.
Mm-hmm.
The dimensional design of the universe is baked into our human design and our DNA. And yeah, there's definitely something to I remember that, like, there's definitely something to with like the 12 strand, and when it fell back down to the 3, and now we're building up to like reactivate. Um and I think there's too this aspect where we have, since we are hybrids, we didn't even really get to that much this episode,
We will
but
next
since
one. We'll
we
build
are
on this.
hybrids, yeah, we're gonna build on this because we didn't get to the starseed. I mean, well, this is all
But this,
relevant, it's
yeah, this is
all
very
good
much a
stuff.
build up to that discussion. So I think it's very,
Yeah.
yeah, relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like we are these hybrids of these higher dimensional beings, and that's why we have this access, like with our third eye, and with we have this access to traverse into these higher dimensions, even if we are not incarnated as a being living in that range of frequencies. Like we have that within us, so we are these hybrids of beings from higher dimensions. And so because of that, that's how we access, that's how we build up our remembrance, and and activate these higher levels of our DNA, because there's aspects of us within that inherently, and there's aspects of those lives, and those pieces of us that we can remember.
Yeah,
They're
definitely.
connected to
And that
us.
is all a part of the assisting and the Starseed mission. Oh, there's also something
Hmm.
else I want to message. So when we get talking about Lemuria and Atlantis, there is like cycles of the earth, right? Like what is it? Like every 26,000 years or something, there's an event.
Hmm.
And so,
Yeah.
do you know much about all of this?
So the 20, I need to look into this. I need to like look into what is like fact and what is l- fiction, that
Let me
not
grab
fiction,
this
and
book.
what is,
Just keep talking. Sorry.
yeah, yeah. I need to look into what is like what the real facts that we know are about the earth and these cycles, and then what is left for, to room to be filled in intuitively or with the spiritual side. But I think the 26,000 year cycle is the precession of the earth. So, meaning that the earth is kind of the axis. If the axis is tilted this way, it's wobbling around like a cone. It's like it's tracing out the shape of a cone. And that is what changes our North Star. So, the North Star is currently Polaris. Like thousands of years ago, the North. So, yeah, that the North Star is where our North is just where the direct north pole axis points to, and so that's what is moving, and the precession is it's wobbling, meaning like it's circling, like creating a cone like shape, so that it's pointing to different stars. And I think that that is what is the 26,000 year cycle. I think it maybe takes 26,000 years to make one full like circle wobble, and like maybe in another 26,000 years we would be back at our current North Star.
Interesting. Yeah, I just grabbed this book. I actually haven't read this. Bryce read this. Fingerprints of the Gods. The Evidence of Earth's Lost Civilization. Graham Hancock. So, do you know who Graham Hancock is?
Mm-mm.
Anyone who's interested in this kind of stuff, look up his work because he is amazing. And he actually just came out with a Netflix series that's about like uncovering ancient civilizations. And like we're talking ancient, like way far before people like even said that like ancient civilizations could exist.
Yeah.
And we're talking about advanced technological civilizations too. Um, so yeah, he's done some really incredible work around that. And it's so interesting because I randomly flipped to a page in here and I honestly don't know if this is Bryce's writing or someone else's before this. I don't even know where he got this book from, to be honest. But it says and it's numbers, and because you're so numbery, I would think it would be, yeah, that you would be interested in this, but okay. 30 equals the number of degrees allocated along the ecliptic to each zodiacal constellation. 72 equals the number of years required for the equinoctial sun to complete a precessional shift of 1 degree along the ecliptic. 360 equals the total number of degrees in the ecliptic. 72 times 30 equals 2160, the number of years required for the sun to complete a passage of 30 degrees along the ecliptic to pass entirely through any of the 12 zodiac constellations. 2160 times 12, or 360 times 72, equals 25,920, the number of years in one complete precessional cycle of the great year, thus the total returns of years required to bring about the great return. So that would be like
Mm. Yeah.
I think that is called like an epoch or something. But then there's like a little note scribbled in here at the 2160 degrees, or 2160, Christ consciousness returns 5D,
Mm.
which is really interesting. And then
Yeah.
this little sticky
This
note.
actually is kind of similar. It's kind of similar to what I talked about in the episode with my brother-in-law, Brandon. And because there were actually some facts that I needed to sort out after that. And like he sent me some other things. We got some numbers wrong, but I'm gonna re-record record some corrections to that. So that will already be out by the time this podcast is out. But it's definitely all that same stuff, and it's how all these numbers stack up and like become a part of these bigger cycles that just go up and up in levels. And what we talked about in that episode was how that relates to like the Mayan
Mm,
calendar has those huge big cycles baked in to that
yeah.
calendar, and how it accounts for that consciousness, like the galactic consciousness. But yeah, no, it's definitely, it's all, you could just visualize as this subdivision of cycles. And I do think that, so the thing that I spiritually am not so sure why it is so important is like why the precession cycle of the earth is important, and the why it would relate to the rest of the galaxy, or why there would be some relation there. There's some ingredient there that like I don't understand yet, that I want
Wouldn't this
to.
just come down to
Um
like the numerology of it all, like somehow being programmed, like if we're really in a simulation and like
mm,
it all being programming.
yeah, it could be that too. I'm thinking like, I guess I'm trying to understand it from like the science perspective, you know?
Yeah, of course.
So right, yeah. So I'm trying to like understand like, oh, why is this motion of this going to be related to that? So, but yeah, there is also the fact that there is some like, there's a program that is encoded. There's a
Yeah,
coding
coding.
to this reality. So yeah, there's a coding of this. So it could just be that. But yeah, that will be good for me to like tap into and try to understand, because like, yeah, like when I hear like, oh, this cycle relates to this, I'm like, well, why is this motion the most important motion to set the connection to all the other motions?
Mhm.
That's where my mind as a physicist goes. But anyway, on that note, do you want to wrap up this
Yeah.
episode? I feel like we said a lot of cool things. And we could definitely have, we'll make another part 2 with the Starseed soul contracts or whatever else needs to come through in terms of that, that aspect of it. The aspects of like incarnations on other in higher dimensions, and how that relates to us as humans, and how it relates to like our soul contracts here. Um
Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
we'll talk
definitely kind of
more
follow up with that,
on what like a star seed is, and yet how it pertains to
and
all
we
of
can do the
this.
empath
I did
stuff.
just want to I was gonna look up an episode to reference to about this Graham Hancock if anyone was interested. Because he says some really, really interesting things that obviously he would be able to speak to a lot better than me.
That book looks really interesting.
Yeah, and I haven't even read it, but
What's it called again?
Fingerprints of
What's
the
the book called?
Gods: The Evidence of Earth's Lost Civilizations by Graham Hancock. And he's
Oh,
really interesting
wow.
because he's actually a journalist, but he's been working on these stories for years and years and years, and he's been really shunned out of like, I don't know,
Shocker.
yeah, out of academia or even like
Shocker.
archaeologists and stuff like that just say like he's full of shit. But if you sit down and listen to him, like he's such a like grounded man, like just the way he
I've never
speaks.
heard of him. I can't believe I've never
You
heard of
should
him.
watch
That's so cool.
his thing on Netflix, because it was a really big deal that he even got his show onto Netflix, because it's been difficult for him, I think, to bring a lot of this
Oh,
information
really?
forward.
Yeah,
But just yeah, let me see
that is interesting.
if I can find. I think it was on an Aubrey Marcus podcast. Um,
Ancient Apocalypse? Is that the Oh wait, no. I'm looking at Netflix.
it
Maybe I
could
started
be
thinking
that. I
about
don't
something
remember what
else.
it was on Netflix, but it's newer, so I bet you it would like pop up in uh, oh, here's one with your guy, Decoding the Mysteries of Antiquity for Our Age with Robert Edward Grant.
Mhm. who follows me on Instagram now,
Yes, he does
by the
follow
way,
Alyssa. This is a big thing for her.
if anyone was counting. I was.
Mm, I don't know. I'm having a hard time finding it. Sorry, guys. But there was an episode. There's probably a few that he's on with Aubrey Marcus that I would recommend listening to if you want to know more about like ancient civilizations and things like just Atlantis or like the ancient civilizations and kind of like what was before us that we don't get taught or talked about because that stuff is here we go. Okay. It's Mapping the Spirit and Our Ancient History with Graham Hancock on Aubrey Marcus, episode 394, and it aired on December 19th, 2022.
Oh,
Thanks,
great. That
Spirit.
was recent. Nice. Okay, good. That's cool. Yeah, you definitely don't hear, you'll hear people talk about Egypt or all these things or unpack the things, but there's civilizations before
Well, because
that happened.
yeah, just the common narrative is that even our older civilizations, like they were, well, they weren't civilizations. They were uncivilized. They were barbarians. Like we are the furthest we've ever been in technology, and it's like, come on, like, is that really true? Like, I don't know. Like,
Exactly. There's and of course that's rejected because they don't want us to know about Atlantis. They don't want us to think that we had higher technology than we currently do, but we definitely have.
or we're in a
And
place of using free energy, in a place where we aren't paying someone above us to live. Like, what if, like, think about this,
Mhm.
guys. What if you didn't have to pay to live? Like, you look at the wild animals, you look at your dog, you look at any other. We humans are the only animal on earth that pay to live. Why is that?
It's so
Ask
true.
yourself, why is
It's
that? And does it
ridiculous.
need to be that way? I'm not so sure.
It's really crazy when
It
you
is
think about it.
crazy.
It's like
Makes me angry.
it's insane. I know, it makes me angry too. Um, all right. Well, on that note, I think we're gonna wrap up
Yeah.
here. But thank you for
Yeah,
being
thanks for
here. Thank you for
listening.
getting to this point. If you're here at this point in this podcast. So my Instagram is at interdimensional.astrophysics. So definitely check me out over there for some more content on this astrophysics spirituality stuff. And definitely follow the podcast page at the Orphic Podcast.
As well as subscribe to the Orphic podcast on YouTube as well. Give us a like, give us a comment. It really helps when you subscribe. And if you like our podcast, please rate and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify too, because that really helps us out to grow and to reach a larger audience. If you resonate with this, hopefully there's more people out there that do too. So we're just trying to expand ourselves as well as we can. You can find me, Mikayla, at Mariposa Moonchild on Instagram, and also check out my offerings and my readings. I do past life regression sessions, energy healing with infusion of Reiki, and I do intuitive soul oracle readings as well. And I'm taking on, I have spots open right now to do one-on-one spiritual mentorship with me too, and healing. So check that out and send me a DM if you're interested in any of that or have any questions.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, well, we'll catch you next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.